There is a photograph on Elena's phone that she has looked at maybe 400 times since they came home. Granada rooftop. Just before sunset. The Alhambra fills the background, amber and ancient, every stone soaked in 8 centuries of light. Elena is laughing. Her hair moves in the warm evening wind. She holds a glass of local wine loosely, the way you hold something when you're not afraid of dropping it. She looks genuinely free. She looks like a woman who has never once stood in a hotel bathroom with the shower running, staring at a number she wasn't ready to see. Mark took that photo. He remembers everything. The light. Elena's laugh, which was real. But he also remembers the number sitting in the back of his mind like a stone he couldn't put down. $6,240. 4 days left. He had checked it that morning with the bathroom door locked and the shower running so she wouldn't hear him standing still. He smiled for the photo anyway. He always did. This is not a story about Spain. Spain was everything the algorithm promised. Orange trees and white walls and heat pressing against the skin like a warm, permissive hand. This is a story about 2 people who walked through one of the most beautiful countries on earth with a debt following them like a shadow neither of them would name. A story about the distance between a photograph and a bank statement. It started on a Tuesday. Mark was at his desk. The ceiling fluorescent flickered every 40 seconds, just enough to notice, never enough to report. His monitor showed someone else's numbers. His coffee was cold. Outside the window, which faced another building, there was the particular grey of a winter city that has run out of things to say. He picked up his phone. He wasn't looking for Spain. Spain found him. The video was 43 seconds. A woman in a yellow dress crossing a sun-drenched plaza in Andalusia. Terracotta tile. A guitarist out of frame. That liquid golden light that makes everything seem to matter more than it does. Mark sent it to Elena with a question mark. Elena, in a meeting she had muted, felt something move in her chest. She wrote back, "Let's actually do it this time." 6 words. That was the beginning. They planned it that same evening, laptops open, television unwatched, and the planning felt wonderful the way all planning does before money becomes real. Seville to Granada to Barcelona. Elena found the boutique hotel in the Albaicin quarter, a rooftop facing directly at the Alhambra, photographs so beautiful they made the decision before either of them consciously made it. €320 a night. Mark found a business class fare and said what people say when they want permission, "We're doing this once, we might as well do it right." She didn't ask which card he used. He didn't say. This silence between them was its own language. A mutual agreement, wordless and total, to keep reality outside the door a little longer. Not dishonesty. Something softer and more dangerous than that. The trip expanded quietly. A flamenco evening. A day trip, a travel blog called Unmissable. A tasting menu in Barcelona at €90 per person before wine. The credit card points Elena had assumed were substantial turned out to be worth a fraction of what she'd imagined, the redemption system labyrinthine, the dates partially blocked. She mentioned it once. Mark said it's fine, we'll figure it out. They moved on. The buy now pay later app was Mark's solution to the hotel deposits. He told himself he was managing cash flow. The app split the balance into monthly payments, 0 interest for 6 months, if you read the promotional terms carefully and let the rest blur. He read the right words. He let the others go. The interest rate after the 6-month window, 27% per year. He knew this. He filed it under October, which felt far away in the way that all future reckonings feel far away when you are sitting on a couch in February and the plan is taking shape and a version of yourself in Spain is already waiting to be unlocked. They flew Thursday morning. Business class delivered exactly what it promises: warm nuts, a flat seat, the particular comfort of a curtain that is just fabric but feels like rank. Elena photographed her meal before touching it and posted it before they landed. The adventure is beginning. 112 likes by the time they touched down in Seville. Seville arrived like a sentence you'd been trying to finish for years. The heat. The cathedral standing above the old quarter like a fact everything else had to arrange itself around. Their hotel smelled of old stone and orange blossom. Elena photographed the room before she unpacked. That first evening was close to perfect. They wandered without a plan and ate at a place found by walking rather than searching, wine from an unlabeled bottle, conversation that came easily, laughter that didn't require effort. The cold thing in Mark's chest went quiet. Not gone. Quiet. He paid with the card he was trying to use less. Then the spending found its rhythm. Not dramatic. Ordinary and relentless, the kind that happens when two people have agreed, without saying so, that the experience is the point and every line item is simply the cost of the experience. Each purchase lived in its own moment. Mark kept the receipts in a mental folder he did not open. The folder grew heavy. Elena posted 4 times that first day. The cathedral at golden hour. The tappers, artfully and staged. A short video of her walking the narrow streets, shot by Mark after brief direction given without sounding like direction. Comments built through the evening. Gorgeous. Goals. You two are living the dream. She read them in the hotel room while Mark slept. She felt something that was partly genuine happiness and partly happiness about happiness, the particular vertigo of someone who has spent enough time curating their life that they sometimes can't locate the line between the feeling and the performance of it. Granada was where the wait stopped being quiet. The rooftop was better than the photographs. The Alhambra at sunset occupied a register that cameras can only approximate, light and history and stone combining into something beyond what images hold. Elena photographed it for an hour. She got the shot. Mark took it. She is laughing. The wine. The wind. The palace burning gold behind her. He had checked the balance that morning. 6,240. 4 days left. He had stood in the bathroom with the shower running and felt the cold thing become a sound, not loud but constant, a low frequency that hadn't been there in Seville, or had been there and was now impossible to ignore. The tasting menu in Barcelona was still coming. The buy now pay later balance sat beside the credit card balance like a second shadow, both of them growing, the 27% waiting in October like a door he'd agreed to walk through without reading the sign above it. He came out of the bathroom. Elena was ready. Lit up. The conversation that needed to happen would have required this moment to end. He let this moment win. He picked up the camera. She laughed. He pressed the button. The photograph was beautiful. It still is. Barcelona, cooler, glossier, the Sagrada Familia rising above ordinary streets like a century-long argument with gravity. Mark bought tickets on his phone standing on the pavement outside. €60. The cold thing was quiet again. That silence worried him more than the thing itself. The tasting menu was on the second night. 14 courses. A wine pairing they accepted because refusing felt small. The dinner lasted 3 hours and parts of it were genuinely extraordinary, moments where Mark was simply present, tasting the number nowhere. Elena's happiness across the table was unperformed and completely her own, and he felt a love for her that the debt made more complicated than it deserved to be. The bill arrived. €412. He paid without meeting her eyes. Sunday. The Barcelona airport. Fluorescent light that belongs to nowhere. The smell of chain coffee and recycled air. Economy seats back. He had the statements open on his phone while they waited to board and he added the numbers quietly, the way you do a thing you've been avoiding. Credit card 1, 6,400. Credit card 2, 4,840. Buy now pay later, 4,860, with October and its 27% approaching at the fixed speed of time. Total, $16,100. Their car was worth $11,000. He was holding a debt heavier than their car, built from sunsets and wine pairings and a boutique rooftop and 14 courses of extraordinary food, and all of it had been genuinely beautiful, and none of it had resolved the grey Tuesday that started this. Because it was never an escape. It was a relocation. They had packed their chains in carry-on luggage and worn them through every perfect street and every golden evening, and now they were bringing them home, heavier, carrying interest. Elena leaned her head back in the seat beside him and said, "That was exactly what we needed." He turned the key. He drove. The highway was the highway. The trees were the usual trees. $16,000 rode with them in the back seat, quiet and patient, the way it had ridden with them through every tapas bar and cathedral and hotel room. It had never left. He had just been looking away. He told her that night. Kitchen table. Phone face up. Apps open in a row. He watched her read the numbers. She was quiet for a long moment. Then, "How long has this been like this?" "A while." "Why didn't you tell me?" He had no clean answer. Because the telling would have changed the trip into something different. Because he had wanted her to have the rooftop without knowing its price. Because saying "we can't afford this" felt like admitting something about their life he wasn't ready to admit, and saying "we can" felt like choosing the better story even when the better story wasn't true. The comments on the rooftop photo were still arriving. "Gorgeous. Goals. You two are living the dream." Elena read them at the kitchen table with the statements open in front of her and felt a vertigo she had no name for, the gap between the image and the underneath, the curated light and the fluorescent truth. 14 months. That was what it took. 14 months of choosing not to. Holding the card and putting it back. Watching other people's trips arrive in the feed and feeling something new and complicated. The discipline changed them, pressed them into more honest conversations about money than they'd ever managed before. That knowledge cost exactly what it cost. The photograph is still on Elena's phone. The happiness in it was real. But she has learned to look at it the way you look at something that tells one true thing while leaving another true thing out. The trip wasn't the mistake. The pretending was the mistake. The silence they built around the numbers. The promotional window treated like a promise. The points calculated with hope instead of arithmetic. The story they told themselves, that experience is always the better investment, that beauty justifies the bill, that the feeling of freedom is worth whatever it takes to buy it. But beauty does not negotiate with interest rates. Sunsets do not defer payments. Some doors look like escapes. Some escapes are just debt with better lighting. And the chains you borrow against the future don't fall away when the flight lands. They just wait, quiet and patient, for October.